Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Draw Control Podcast. On today's episode, I am joined by incoming junior on the LIU women's lacrosse team, Julia Trainor. During her time with LIU, Julia has been named First-team All-NEC twice, NEC All-Tournament team, and NEC All-Rookie team, as well as making it to the NEC Spring Academic Honor Roll team. Julia has recorded 56 goals, 27 assists, 58 ground balls, 47 caused turnovers, and 130 draw controls in her lacrosse career so far. Before college, Julia played 4 seasons of varsity lacrosse, captaining the team as a junior and senior. She was the Merrimack Valley Conference MVP as a senior, all Eastern Mass first team as a junior and senior, and three-time MVP as well. And she became the fifth student athlete in prep program history to reach the 300-point plateau, and she tallied career highs with 80 goals, 47 assists, 72 ground balls, and 140 draw controls as a senior. And I'm super excited to have her on today. So, Julia, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And how is everything going?
Everything's going great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm super excited to have you on, and obviously, summer is starting. So, how has your summer been going for you so far? And do you have any plans, whether it's lacrosse related or not?
Summer's been going great. Just working out and working myself, just trying to keep busy that way. Maybe go on a family vacation, few
Nice,
out of
nice.
the Cape.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
really. Just chilling.
Yeah, try and enjoy the downtime before things
Yeah.
get crazy again.
Yep.
Now, what are some things I guess you've been working on this summer to get yourself ready for the fall, lacrosse wise, obviously?
Yeah. So one of my biggest focuses right now is just staying consistent. Really trying to just perfect everything that I'm already good at and trying to get my left just as good as my right. That's a big thing for me, but consistency is definitely at the top of my list. Because I think that's what's going to help me in the future. I did that from freshman to sophomore year, and I think it helped me as a person and a player. So that's my main goal for throughout college.
Yeah, how do you make that left hand just as dominant as your right hand? Because that's something that is
Just got to
difficult
do
for
it
some
all the
players.
same.
Some players, they can't, it's like a mental thing. Sometimes
Oh,
they
I
can't
know.
do it with their left hand or right hand if they're a lefty.
Just got to do drills all lefty.
Nice, nice.
Repetition, that's all you can do, right?
What are some of the drills that you do during the summer to sort of improve that?
Um, just shots, dodging, everything I would do in my right hand, I do in my left. So ladder work, cradling, everything. Not just a specific drill. Wall ball helps though, for sure. But
Hmm.
just doing everything both hands while I'm doing it is what helps me the most.
Well, let's start off talking about the beginning of your career and sort of working all the way up to where you are today. So you're from Billerica, Massachusetts. Talking about growing up there and how'd you start playing lacrosse? Because obviously lacrosse is East Coast sport, but maybe just my opinion, but I feel like Massachusetts isn't as a big lacrosse hub as other places in the
I
East
agree.
Coast.
Yeah. So I definitely have my parents to thank. While growing up, they were always keeping me in some sort of sport, whether it was soccer, basketball, or lacrosse. But I mainly started playing lacrosse because of my two older brothers. They played and were a huge influence on me growing up. So when I saw they were playing lacrosse, I was like, Mom, I wanted to do that. So we signed up right then and there. And that's how I kind of started. I started in second grade, I want to say, while I was 8.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you play boys lacrosse first and then transition to girls, or was it girls
Nope.
lacrosse all the way
Just
through? Because I know
all
some
girls.
people have done boys lacrosse to start
Yeah.
off.
Nope. I was definitely slinging around in the backyard with my brothers, but other than
Mhm.
that, it was all girls.
Nice. And
Yeah.
growing up, who are some of your favorite players and teams that you like to watch?
Oh, well, my oldest brother, Daniel, he always wanted to go to UNC. So we were a huge UNC family, loved to watch UNC, definitely Maryland. I looked up to Kayla Trainor, Sam Apuzzo, Marie McCool, Kylie O'Miller, all those top people right now. So it's awesome to see them also exceeding in the pro. So it's cool to look up to.
Yeah. Have you had the chance to meet any of them in person?
No, I've only met Alex Ost
All
because my
right.
my brother Jeffrey plays on the Cannon, so he
That's pretty cool.
got me a little VIP access to Alex Ost.
I feel like as you continue to get better, hopefully you have the chance to meet some of those icons that you
I
grew
know,
up
I hope.
watching.
I hope.
Now, before college, you played for your high school with Bill Ricca. So talk about your high school lacrosse days, what you took away from it, and like what's your favorite memory from your Bill Ricca lacrosse days?
Yeah, so for Billerica, I got the opportunity to play in 8th grade. So I tried out in 8th grade. I made varsity. I was super stoked. Um, played varsity 8th grade, 9th grade, sophomore year got canceled due to COVID. And then junior and senior year were really awesome. We, made a run in the tournament almost every year that I played for Billerica. Um, I just met so many great people on the way, and my coaches and everyone behind me, have got me to where I am today. So I have all the thanks to them. My favorite memory would probably be either my 300th point at Duxbury against Duxbury, or my senior year, we played Chelmsford, Mass, who's a huge rival for Billerica, and we beat them for the first time in my career. So that was pretty awesome because we'd always, it was always like a nail biter with them. So that was a pretty cool moment as well.
Nice. Did you get to, I don't know if they do this, but did you get to keep the ball that you scored with for the
Yeah,
300th point?
I got it. I got it right over here.
Oh, awesome.
I don't know
For
if
all
you
the
can
people watching, you
over
can
there.
sort of see it. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's all cased up.
Nice, nice.
Yep.
Now, how did your sort of lacrosse experience with Bill Ricca, you think, help prepare you for college lacrosse with LIU?
So Billerica, we're in the Merrimack Valley Conference, and I would say that's definitely one of the more competitive conferences. So I was always playing against teams with girls that are already been committed or going on to play college. So I think it was definitely a building block for college, that competitiveness, and it's definitely helped me, be tough in high school as well as in college. So it was a great stepping stone for me to be in the MVC. It was a huge upper hand, I guess you can say, to go into college.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
also played for the Bay State Bullets, which might be one of the coolest club lacrosse names I've heard in quite some when
Yeah.
since I've been doing this. But what was your club lacrosse experience like? How cool was that to play for the Bay State Bullets? I just feel like that's a cool name. So already
Oh,
it
yeah.
must have been cool to be a part of that team.
Great colors too, black and orange. It was
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
I signed up in probably 7th grade. One of my really good friends that I played AAU basketball with, Allie's Orange, plays at Tufts now. She influenced me to sign up for Bay State, so I was like, you know what, let's just do it. And that's what kind of got me to college lacrosse. And I think everyone at Bay State, I've met so many people there as well. Um, but yeah, traveling for the tournaments, just the exposure, all of it, it's such a great experience to go to Maryland, to go to Florida, to go to wherever. So that was definitely a huge stepping stone to get recruited at LIU as well. Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about that recruiting process with LIU. What was that process like for yourself, and what made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at?
Yeah, well, recruiting for me was actually real tough because of COVID. So, you know, I I always dreamed of going to like these huge schools, and then when recruiting actually started, I was like, "Oh God, that's never gonna happen." So it was kind of a humbling experience because I dreamt of like so big. And my mom came up to me one day and was like, "Have you ever heard of Long Island University?" I was like, "No, Ma." And she was like, "Well, maybe you should reach out." So I just happened to reach out. I loved Coach Meg Mac, and um, Coach McNamara, she let me play lacrosse and study nursing, so that was a huge thing for me. Because I know a few other coaches that I talked to or another school didn't even have nursing, so that was huge. But yeah, mainly the academics and the lacrosse together um, was just a perfect match. I toured, loved it. Small little campus, so you could walk anywhere to any class. So it was great.
Yeah, it must be
Yep.
nice to also be close to home too.
Right.
Just
Not
because
too
some of
far.
those, yeah, like far enough where you're far away, but also not too far where it's like, man, this is like a plane ride to get here. So it
Yeah,
must be nice, sort of that proximity to Massachusetts for you.
and also going down to one of the biggest lacrosse states in, the US. So huge, huge teams there. I mean, you even said it earlier, Massachusetts may be underlooked, but going to Long Island, I was like, wow.
Hmm.
Because
Well, I'm
95%
not, I never
states
said
from Long
Long Island
Island.
is not overlooked.
Oh,
That's probably one of the biggest hubs
oh
outside of
yeah,
Maryland.
they are the top.
Yeah,
Massachusetts may be underlooked, but Long Island, absolutely not.
no way for sure. But you guys have a cool, I like the Sharks mascot. That's probably
Oh
one of the
yeah,
coolest mascots ever.
great colors too.
I wish there
Fun
was a way
colors.
you can put it in the front of the jersey because
I
I know in
know.
hockey they do that and it looks super cool.
I
And I
hope
feel
we
like
get.
you gotta do that for
I know. I
lacrosse
hope we get new
jerseys.
uniforms for next year now that we just won. So, high hopes.
We'll see. We'll see. Well, as a freshman, one question I want to ask you before we get to that one is, obviously you said that you were sort of looking to go to some big schools, and that obviously ended up not happening. So, do you feel like you sort of have a chip on your shoulder to prove some of those coaches wrong? I guess that they probably should have looked at you. I'm just curious about if you sort of have that underdog mentality, or is it just something
Yeah,
that like
definitely.
it is what it is? I'm just gonna try to play my best with the team that wanted me.
Yeah, no, both. I see both ways. I, I wouldn't say. I don't know how to word it, but I don't feel like I'm underlooked because I do feel like such a big leader at Long Island. So that's one of the main reasons why I do love being at Long Island. I have that role and that opportunity to carry my team. Um, but I wouldn't, I had never thought I was gonna get a look from big schools just because of how everything went with COVID and everything. So my dreams got crushed, but reality's reality. And so I can't, Long Island is my home now, and I
Yeah, it
couldn't be
ended up working
happier.
out for you. So.
No, exactly. It worked out in my favor. So I like to prove people wrong, and especially when we went to the NCAA, we went
Mhm.
to go play Virginia, and that was just like a surreal experience too. So, like playing that big school, I was like, wow, this is what it
Hmm.
would have been like.
Yeah,
So it's cool to see both sides of the story.
absolutely. And as a freshman, what were some of the biggest adjustments you had to make to your game? Was it sort of the physicality, the speed? Like what stood out to you the most as an attacker?
Yeah, definitely had to get my game a lot quicker. When I didn't realize how fast the game of women's lacrosse was going to be until I actually stepped on that field. So that was probably the biggest adjustment. Um, Also physicality. Physicality was a huge thing as well. I'm a little 100-pound freshman playing against seniors. Definitely wasn't my greatest matchup then, but the weight room got me where I needed to be now, so I feel more better about that. But yeah, definitely the quickness and just playing against people with playing against a collective team with so much skill rather than in high school where some girls, didn't go to college or this or that. So just everyone's there for the same reason and their reason is to win. So I think that was just like, I flipped the switch there.
Yeah, and obviously your roles adjusted a little bit too, because everyone on your team was the best player in high school, and now
Right.
you're all together. So it's sort of like, how do I adjust in the right role for the team to have
Exactly.
success?
Yeah.
That's sometimes I feel like a transition that's very difficult for a lot of players that isn't talked about enough. But I feel like the best teams know the players know like what their role is and how to adjust to it, and they excel at it obviously because being a Division I lacrosse player is
Yeah.
like only 1% of players can get to that point.
Right.
Now, let's talk
Yeah.
about your
So it's
team.
awesome. I mean,
Oh, sorry, go ahead. The connection's a little bit weird
no,
right
no,
now.
let's go on. Oh, I'm sorry. It might be me, it might be you, I don't know. But let's move on. I
All
got
right.
nothing else to say.
Well, let's talk about your team because I feel like your team was sort of the team that surprised many people in the lacrosse world this past season. So, as when you were a freshman, your team had 7 wins, and now obviously your sophomore year, your team had 11 wins. So, from your perspective, what were some of the things that your team did to make, I guess, that jump from your freshman year to your sophomore year?
Yeah, so I definitely noticed that our team this year was a lot less selfless. Um Everyone on our team, I think, really perfected in their role and did their role to the best of their ability. So I think that helped out at every stage of the field, whether it was attack, midi, or defense. On attack, we have our feeders, we have our dodgers. So perfecting those positions really helped us, and making the selfless plays, I definitely think helped get more numbers on the board, etc. So definitely the selflessness, I think, is what was our biggest improvement.
And just talk about what it's like playing in the NEC and just the competition you face each game. It's a bit of a smaller conference, but there's a lot of good teams in that conference, like yourself, Wagner, and Sacred Heart.
Yep. So the NEC, you can never ever go into a game thinking you're gonna, win this game or lose this game because in the NEC, anyone can come out on any day and win any game. So I think that's one of the coolest things about the NECs because so many people are underdogs and then you just show up and they, can prove you so wrong. So I think that's definitely a cool thing about the NEC as well as, our locations. We never, we're all over the place, so it's kind of cool traveling around. But yeah, definitely never underestimate the underdogs.
Absolutely. What's your favorite road stadium to play in? Now that you've been to all of them, I assume by now.
Oh, yeah. Um, hmm, that's a good question. I really like I really liked playing at Merrimack because it was close to home. I had so many family members there. But my favorite field is probably Central Connecticut.
Hmm.
I love that stadium. That's a nice stadium.
Now, you've always been an incredible player, but this season seemed to be sort of your breakout year from my perspective as an observer. I wonder if you agree with that statement, and what would you say was sort of the biggest improvement you made to your game that sort of led to the success that you had on your field for your sophomore year? Because most people say sophomore slump, but you had a sophomore surge,
Yeah.
as I like to call it.
Yeah. So, I definitely agree with you. I think I was even talking to Coach McNamara, and Coach Megan Alls. They all said, about the sophomore slump that I'd never had one, and I was really grateful that they, gave me that confidence. But if you look at my assists went from like 5 to 30 something. So I think that was definitely one of the biggest improvements that I made as a player. Um, Moving the ball better, seeing the field better. That definitely helped with that, my points. Um, but yeah, my I think my dodging definitely got better. My left hand got better from sophomore year. So I definitely was able to use that more as well. So all those little things definitely added up to help me, excel in my sophomore year.
Yeah. And how much of the assist was basically you improving your playmaking ability or being selfless, like you mentioned? Because you said that was one of the things you noticed with your team. Do you think it was a little bit of both, or was there something that you sort of worked on one of those two elements?
Definitely both. Like I mentioned before about the selflessness, we definitely had more of a cutting offense this year than we did it last year. So I think every person with their roles that way made me a better assister, um, or feeder, I guess I should say. But and I also watched a lot of more lacrosse and film over the fall and summer of last year. So I think that definitely helped my vision of the field a lot better, um, to get my assists up.
Now, this past season, all the hard work that you and your team did accumulated as you guys won the NEC championship against Sacred Heart. I think a lot of people did not expect you guys to win that game. I will include myself in that. I was wrong, so I will tell you that to your face. I was wrong and I apologize, but just talk
Okay.
about what it was like winning that championship, especially against the defending champions in their home turf. That must have been a cool feeling. It must have, I know everyone dreams about winning it in at home, but I feel like to do it on the road is even more special.
Yeah. We all dreamed of that moment. It was so surreal, but I would say our rival in the NEC is Sacred Heart. We always have a close game. We always have that 8-7 game. Last year at home, and then we didn't get to play them last year in the championship, to then going this year. Regular season, we lost by one again. So it was just all this built up frustration because we're so close to getting there. And they were being defending champs, so we knew that after we lost, we were definitely going to go there. So we were like, okay, this is our time to shine, and I think we all really came out and played the best we could, and it was amazing taking it on our home turf. That just was a cherry on top.
Absolutely. How did that bus ride? How was that bus ride? Any good bus ride stories? What was
Oh,
some of the
great
music
bus
playing?
ride. Anything, all explicit songs blaring, loud
Nice.
screaming, trophy flying around everywhere, you know,
That's
straight out of a
awesome.
movie.
That's awesome. Hopefully the bus driver didn't get too upset. So,
I think he understood.
I feel like you have to at that point. It's not that bad of a drive from Fairfield to Long
No,
Island. It could be
that's,
worse. So,
yeah, really could.
Now, like you mentioned, you guys played Virginia in the tournament that year. Even though you guys lost, what you took away from your first tournament experience going out to Charlottesville and playing them?
Oh my God, it was such an awesome experience. We were so excited to go down there. We wanted to fly actually, so we were all wicked mad that we had to take the bus down to Virginia. But other than that, it was such a surreal moment, and we were always the underdog, so we had that nothing to lose mentality, and I really think that that allowed us to have fun in the moment and rather than dwell with our loss. So I think that was a really good team, effort and experience for us.
Now, what are your team and individual goals and expectations for next season? Because obviously, like you mentioned, your team was the underdogs this past year, but obviously that's not going to be the case this year since you guys are the defending champions. So, what's the mentality going to be like, sort of knowing that you guys have a target on your back for conference games, and how do you hope to sort of repeat as champions for this season?
Yeah, definitely. Individual goals is just to get better. You never miss a day without a stick in your hand. Just always have it. Team goals, I really want us to just come in and pick up where we left off. So, usually we have this little like down slope in the season. Um, it's usually in preseason when we, have a really tough conference and it destroys our confidence. So I really hope that our team comes in and has that confidence right out of the bat, so we can all get better from where we left off. I think that would really help us excel. Um, but yeah, just having that chip on our shoulder now. Now that we know what it feels like to win, we have to go after it again. So.
Yeah, and maybe now that you guys know what it takes, you sort of know what level you have to go at to sort of be the champion. So that experience will definitely, I feel like, be beneficial where other teams aren't going to have that.
Exactly. And definitely playing Virginia was like an eye-opening experience for us as well, just because of their speed, their physicality, their, no, the way they deliver the ball. It's just I hope a lot of people take away from that and see that we could get there, and like we can play at their level.
Now, one thing I did want to ask you as well was there were some rule changes this past year regarding green cards. I just want to ask you what your thoughts on those rule changes are, and was it easy or difficult to adjust to them?
I mean, I hate the green card, but I usually get more yellow cards than I do green cards, but that's besides the point. Uh, I just think it, I think as that rule got in placed into our season, we didn't have enough time to adjust to how quickly that we were going to be down two or three girls. Like the green cards were coming at us like, bing bing bing. So it was really hard for us to adjust to playing two to three girls down in some situations. So I think we really need to just focus on being clean and working with the refs, because I know some of them are, some of us let them play, some of them don't let us play. So it's really just the revs, but overall, I think we just need to, really get our man down D
Hmm.
perfect, because
Yeah.
it's going to happen a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I feel like a lot of people in lacrosse are trying to find ways to speed up the game and make it not
Yeah.
take 3 hours long. But I feel like that rule sort of slows it down a little bit. And I feel like it creates bias because, like you said, some refs are very strict about it. Some refs aren't. I think it
Yeah.
also sometimes incentivizes flopping, which you
Yep.
see a little bit. I know there was a game, I think it might have been you, it was a LIU Wagner game where someone got fouled and there was a whole discussion online whether it was a flop or not. I don't know if you remember that, but I just feel like sometimes some of those stuff takes place a little bit, which I feel like you should let them play. It's like it's lacrosse is a physical sport. You should let them be physical.
Right.
But that's just my opinion. But I feel like there's got to be sort of a fine line, or at least I guess both sides I feel like can come together and make something that works for everybody is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree. But on the embezzlement, I mean, I feel like that card was only pulled on us maybe once or twice.
Hmm.
Other than that, like it was never used. So, I mean, if you get hit in the head and the ref doesn't call it and you say ow, then like, how are you supposed to react to whether it's embellishment or not? So I think that's like a huge controversy too. So
Hmm.
I don't know. It's definitely a loophole that we have to just play with, but
Hmm.
can't do anything about it.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe adding replay centers or something like
Yeah,
that more,
that would
because
be
I know
awesome.
some teams don't have as good as technology for that. So is there a way you can sort of make that better for everybody? I don't know. It's a lot, but I do th find it an interesting conversation to have, that's for sure.
I agree.
So let's move on to a segment I like to call the non-lacrosse segment, where I ask you some non-lacrosse questions to hopefully get to know you a little bit more off the field. So first one is, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
Ooh, uh, Jennifer Lawrence.
I've done like three interviews the past week and everyone has said Jennifer Lawrence. That's pretty crazy. Is it because
Just
the
because the
Hunger
Hunger
Games coming
Games,
in?
yeah.
Yeah.
Just because. But if I had to choose an athlete, it would probably be Alex Morgan.
That's a good pick. That's a good
Yep.
pick. I don't know who I would pick. I would probably say like I feel like Tom Brady would be pretty cool.
Yep, that would be cool.
So I would probably go with him. I know he's not an actor, but I feel like they can make it work because it's gonna be my movie. So now next question is, what was the best concert you've ever been to?
Ooh, I forget how old I was. I was probably like 11 or 10. I went to the Selena Gomez concert. Best concert I've ever been to. Knew every
Awesome.
song, sang as loud as I could. It was great. I was with my two friends. Happy as
Yeah.
ever.
I'm trying to think what the best concert I've gone to is. Probably, I would say like either the Jonas Brothers was actually really fun. I went to that.
Oh,
And then or like probably like U2, that was really fun. But I think I'm going to some concerts this summer, so I'm interested to see if they will top that
yeah,
or not.
that's awesome. I've always wanted to go to a Jonas Brothers concert.
It was a lot of fun. Like the one song, I know it's not a Jonas Brothers song, but Cake by the Ocean is one of the
Oh yeah,
catchiest songs ever. So I love
yeah,
like seeing that live and how they made it was super cool.
that's
So I had a
awesome.
good time. I won't lie.
Nice.
I will totally freely admit that on the internet. So now, what is the most underrated holiday and what is the most overrated holiday?
In my opinion, overrated Thanksgiving just because I don't like the food. But that's the only reason. I'm very thankful for everyone in my life. Underrated, I would say, mm, I would probably say Easter.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah,
Just because the weather's nice. So
always.
yeah. Well, usually, sometimes it can be, but it's warmer, which is nice. So.
The past two Easters I haven't been able to go home, but I used to remember it as a kid and they used to be my favorite. So,
Yeah, that is a lot of fun. I'd say for overrated for me is Halloween, just because if you're not into dressing up, it's not as fun as it for everyone else. And
so,
then underrated, I'll go with 4th of July. That's always a fun day. When the
yep,
weather is nice. When
that
it's
was
not
gonna
as
be my
fun.
second one. Yep.
So, next question is, what is the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
Ooh, I actually screenshotted something, not interesting, but inspiring. Let me find it. It says, the secret to happiness is to let every situation be what it is instead of what you think it should be and try to make the best of it.
Hmm. That's
I
a good
really
quote.
tried to just be open-minded, so when I saw that, I was inspired.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, probably just like the Celtics,
Yep,
hopefully going to close it out tonight, but
I agree. I
we'll
hope.
see. We'll see what happens.
Oh, Celts.
If they blow it, then I'm never watching
Oh,
basketball again. So
would be, 16 years ago today they won it.
I know in 617 is the Boston area
Yep.
code, so it all lines up, but we'll see what
Today,
happens.
today better be the day.
If they don't do it today, I feel like they definitely lose the series, but that's just my pessimistic self. Now, who has the best off the field style on the LIU women's lacrosse team?
Ooh, this one's pretty easy. Two graduates, Jenna Lewis and Brianna Tribble. Two
And
fat
then
geniuses.
nice, nice. And then last one is, what is one item on your bucket list that you hope to accomplish one day?
I've always said I want to jump out of a plane, so I think that would be
Hopefully with a
cool.
parachute.
Yeah, sure. That would be helpful.
Yeah,
I think
uh,
that would be so sick.
that's pretty
That
cool.
plane.
That's pretty
Yeah,
cool. I could not do that because that's a little scary for me, but I would say like travel different places,
there you
go
go.
on a plane, but then land it and then walk out of it and see cool stuff. That's sort of what would be cool for me.
Nice.
Now, getting back to some lacrosse questions now. First one is, what should be done to help grow women's lacrosse from your perspective?
I mean, women's lacrosse has already grown so much from when I was a little girl. So I think just keeping it on the air and, keeping it on ESPN plus, ESPN, ABC, all these networks that a huge variety of people can, view. I think that will definitely inspire because everyone says it's the fastest game on 2 feet. So I think, it would definitely catch people's eyes if it was on bigger platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. I was reading somewhere where softball is the fastest growing college sport. And I think a
Yeah.
big reason for that is because it's being broadcasted everywhere.
Yeah.
Like if you turn on ESPN during the tournament time, you see all these college
Right.
softball games, and they sort of separate itself from the men's tournament. So I feel like they should try that with women's lacrosse, maybe try to put it on a different weekend so they can get all the attention and they can put it
Yeah.
on the good platforms. And then obviously I feel like the sport can grow that way, and you can stagger start times, which I think would make it easier for everyone to watch as many games as they want.
Yeah, totally agree.
Now, last question for you, Julia, is any shout outs you want to give to your teammates, family members, friends, former teammates, and who should we have on the podcast next?
Shout out to everyone, everyone I know that watches this. My family, thank you for everything, your support. You guys are awesome. My team members, thank you for making me the person and player I am today. Um, all my club people, all my Billerica people, they've all made me the person I am. So all thanks to them. Shout outs. Or actually, who should we have next on the podcast? I mentioned her early, Ali Zorn,
Hmm.
attacker at Tufts. She'd be great. Or also former LIU girl, Mary Kate Person, just won a national championship at Tampa. Be awesome to interview her as well.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Julia, for coming on. I really appreciate your time. You're a great player, even better person, and I know you're going to do great things again next season. So, looking forward to watching it from afar. But thanks so much for coming on. I
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.